right? So it'll say, so it's really loud.
Why would you not have a camera on this?
So see this mute?
Ding dong.
Anybody hear me?
I can hear you. I had to unmute myself. I forgot how to do it.
Good, thank you, Joanne.
You know I don't like to be muted.
You know, I can mute you, actually. I love the
Oh, don't ever tell my husband.
Yeah. Hey, Johnny.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing all right. How about you?
Good, good.
Happy New Year to you both.
Happy New Year.
Hi, John.
Joanne, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
So I know Ed's not going to be on. I think Jimmy is supposed to be, as well as Luke.
Well, we still have 1 minute till official 2 o'clock.
That's right.
So, I don't know why we can't see that. We should be able to, but.
I'm just going to try and share my screen just because host disabled participant screen sharing. I thought I was the host.
Huh.
Signed in. Did somebody sign in?
No, it still only has 3 participants.
All right. Tony, thanks.
Jimmy's here.
Jimmy's coming. Host disabled participant screen sharing. Okay.
Do you think I made myself the host by accident?
I don't know. See if you can share.
Oh, and I didn't want to be seen. Hold on. Let's see.
No, you don't have to. I'm not saying video. I meant down at the bottom, there's a green button that says share screen.
It says share.
Yeah,
Let
what
me hit
happens
it.
when you click share?
Host disables participant screen sharing.
Okay.
So if you're the host, you did something bad.
But I didn't log in. Somebody else logged in. I don't know. That's weird.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. How you doing, Jimmy?
Good, thank you. Where are you, Peter?
In my office in Nahant.
Oh, I thought you were coming in from,
Oh, you in Hawaii?
No, Hawaii's under lockdown. I can't go there right now.
oh, really?
I mean,
boo-hoo.
Boo-hoo. I can go there, but I would have to quarantine for 10 days, and I don't really feel like doing that.
Yeah.
And it's a strict quarantine. The National Guard actually, some of my friends have gone over, and the National Guard shows up unexpectedly and knocks on your door.
Oh,
Wow.
So there's no way I could keep my wife locked down. So she'd be in jail. But Luke told me he was going to join, so we'll give him another couple of minutes, and then we'll get going. We do have a quorum now.
Yeah, I spoke to him earlier. He said he was going to be joining.
Yeah. How come I can't? That's funny that I can't share the screen though.
That's okay. We don't need to see each other.
No, I wanted to show you part of the contract.
Oh.
I mean, I can just read to you what it says. It's not that much, but I just thought it would be easier to. See, it says, as you will be the host. I'm gonna just try something here. Bear with me.
Okay.
That didn't work. Oh, well. And I give him what till 2:04 on my computer, and then I'm gonna get going because I do have some work things that I have to do.
Well, should we just start and go over the minutes?
Yeah, I'm gonna just give him one more minute and then we'll
Oh,
be going.
okay.
Am I supposed to be able to see anything on my screen?
No,
Okay.
I mean, if you want, we can all show our pretty faces, but I showered just now, Joanne, for you. Jim, I was gonna share pages of the contract, but for whatever reason, I don't have access to do that, so.
Do you have your video shut off, Peter? What if you just put your own video on? Couldn't you then show it?
Well, I don't know, I can do that real easy.
Like, right? I mean, I can turn my video on and then I can show you my thing, see? Hmm.
Yeah, I'll try it. I don't know if that works for you guys or not, but there's the
Here you
video.
are.
Let's see, it's. Is that,
You look like a pilot.
yeah, see, it's inverted, right? Because it's,
I'm a
You see
teacher.
it now.
No, that's right.
oh, is it? It's on my screen, it's not right.
It says it is money that, yeah, I can read it, but not clearly because it's,
All
It's
right,
got a blur.
yeah, it's not inverted though.
well, if we need it, we can do that.
Okay.
So,
I didn't see anything at all from anybody, so. I don't
Okay.
know.
Do you have your video on at the bottom, Jim?
I had it on earlier, but it seems to not be an available option at the moment.
all right, so let's get going. It's not urgent. It
That we can see.
is 2:05, calling them on January 13th. We'll call the meeting of the Golf Committee to order. We do have a quorum. I guess first off, just happy New Year and happy Corona season. Hopefully everybody's doing well. I appreciate your time for this. So I did send out 3 copies of the minutes. I think I have two more copies. One is executive session meeting from a year ago that we're still not going to publish yet. And then I have one from our meeting in November. I can't find my notes. So I was just going to ask if anybody had notes from that meeting. I'm assuming they don't.
I don't know.
I know we voted. I have a record that I sent an email saying we voted and the vote was 3-1 to approve the 6,000. I just don't know who made the motion and who approved it, seconded it. I don't think that really matters. So I'll just dig something up and I'll send those out for the next meeting.
Right. I did vote no, so I want that noted.
Yep. So somebody, is that
I'll
you,
make
Luke?
Yep.
Hey, Luke. So we just kicked it off and I think Joanna's about to make a motion.
Can I make a motion to accept the June 2nd, 2020 minutes?
Second.
That was Joni Lombard, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And just remember when we vote, just in case somebody's listening, because we are not in executive session. Actually, even when we are, we have to state your name and your vote. You can't just say, oh, we have to individually do it. So any further discussion on the June 2nd, 2020 meeting notes?
Nope.
Hearing none, all those in, can you state your name and signify your vote?
Joanne Dunn in favor, aye.
John Lombard, aye.
Jim O'Connor in favor, aye.
Luke Wachtell in favor. Aye.
Pete Fitzpatrick, aye. So unanimous, thank you.
Can I now make a motion to accept the minutes of the October 9th, 2020 Golf Committee meeting?
Is it 9th or 19th?
19th.
Do I have a second?
Second, Jim O'Connor.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please signify your name and position.
Joanne Dunn, aye.
Jim O'Connor, aye.
Lombard, aye.
Luke Wachtell, aye.
Pete Fitzpatrick, aye.
Like to make a motion to accept the October 21st, 2020 minutes.
Seconded, Luke.
Well, Luke, whoever.
Any discussion? Hearing none, signify by saying aye.
Joanne Dunn, aye.
Jim
John
O'Connor,
Lombard, aye.
Pete Fitzpatrick, aye. Jimmy, did you say?
yeah, I did, aye.
Okay,
Aye, aye.
that's fine.
Luke
Yeah.
Wachtell, aye.
Thanks. Okay, so I just got to read something to, I'm going to make a motion for us to go into executive session. So I have to give a reason. The reason is to discuss a strategy regarding the Kelly Greens 2020 RFP to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, 21A3. And we will adjourn in executive session, so we are not coming back to the regular session. I don't have control of the people, so if somebody joins in, I'll monitor the room here. If somebody joins, we'll have to ask them to leave. So that's a motion to go to executive session.
Second, Joanne.
The pause is because I'm taking notes. So any discussion on the moving into executive session? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Joanne Dunn, aye.
John Lombard, aye.
Jim O'Connor, aye.
Luke Wachtell, aye.
Pete Fitzpatrick, aye. Okay, so you guys have all been around. Everybody, you guys understand what executive session means. And I would just stress that there's rumors that this is being watched closely. And when I say rumors, I don't think they're rumors. I think it is being watched closely by other potential bidders. So we have to be very careful. Anything that we talk about today, and it's nothing earth shattering, but the things that we do talk about today, we can't discuss with anybody. I know it's easy for, especially us that walk our dogs and we bump into Brett and say, how's it going? And it's very easy to get into a conversation with him. But we really need to, as golf committee members, especially to make sure that we're not doing that. Or even talking to somebody else. Actually, this did happen. Somebody not on the committee did speak with Brett, and it went to the selectmen, and there was nothing wrong was done. And we just had to send a reminder notice to Brett and to the individual that did talk to him. So, and the reason it's not that anything is rocket science or earth shattering. It's if things leak out, then there could be a potential bid protest, and that's the last thing we want, as we move forward. So anyway, that's enough of the lecturing. So what I thought I would do is, you guys may have some questions on a whole bunch of different things. And I thought I would open it up to any questions that you guys have. But before I do that, I'll just give you guys a rundown of where we're at. And if you have no questions, there are three things that the selectmen have asked us for input on. So we will, we'll discuss that, and if a vote is appropriate, we'll make one. But in general, we kind of got off to a slow start, and I attribute it to the lawyers. The town's attorney says it's Brett's attorney, and maybe the town's attorney was a little slow as well. I don't know, but it seems like whenever lawyers are involved, things take forever. So there's nothing gone wrong or any of those reasons why it's taking so long. There's no like, oh my God, where this isn't going to happen. There's none of that stuff. If you heard any rumors or anything, I'd be happy to, dispel them if I can. We are on draft 2 of the contract. I am in constant communications with Dan Script. We're like new best friends. And I think more or less just to give him background, I am not making any, I'm doing my best not to, they asked my, my opinion, and I gave them my opinion as a member of, as a citizen of Nahant, not as a member of the committee. And I make it very clear that that's the case. And that's why we're having this meeting, actually, because they asked me, they said, hey, Pete, what do you think? And what does the committee think? And I said, I can't speak for the committee because we haven't met. So they asked us to meet on this. A lot of the things are just legal mumbo jumbo. One of those, not a big one, but one that took a lot of time was what happens if the building burns down and all that kind of stuff. Again, I don't necessarily think that is a committee thing. That's more of a town thing. So those are the kinds of things that we're going back and forth with. So before I jump into the 3 things that that the selectmen want our opinion on or our help on, is there any questions? Or I'll open it up to anything, even with what's going on with Johnny Moore. If anybody has any questions, I can, under executive session, I can share a lot of those things.
Yeah, I got a couple questions. Pete, I was wondering, we discussed this the last, I don't know, several months on the front door issue, and I don't think that's the new tenant's problem. I think that's a town problem.
Agreed, and that's you're jumping ahead. That's one of the items the town wants us to talk about. So hold on to that thought.
All right, and the other one was the heating system. I heard the heating.
Same thing.
Shot. Okay.
Same thing. That's something that we'll talk about.
Okay.
I'd be interested to hear if there's been any resolution with how things ended with John. Not John Moore. John Moore, not Johnny Lombard.
Yeah. Yep. Well, so let me just give you the short and sweet version. Again, this is all under.
Executive.
Well, I'll just tell you where it's at. I don't know if I'm allowed to actually even share what the town's position is, but he owes us. This is public information if you wanted to get it. I think he owes us like 25,000. It might be 28 or it might be 23. So call it some number between 20 and 30,000 is what John owes the town. And he basically has, been somewhat non-responsive. But we finally did get a response from him through the attorneys. And the town has to make a decision now what they do with that money that's owed.
Is that in addition to, wasn't there a similar amount that had to be like in a bond?
So the town took the bond. It was $25,000 bond, and the town has that.
So this is in addition. This is in addition to that.
That's correct. He originally owed like 50,000 roughly, and we legally put him on and his attorneys on notice that we were going. Just like time, you have to
Right.
say, hey, we're taking your bond in 30 days unless you do something. And so we did all that stuff. We waited the appropriate time. No response, and so we actually have cashed that, or the town has that money.
Okay.
Peter, was it mostly rent, or was it water bill? What was the?
Well, that's an interesting question because I look at it as both. But I mean, what's the difference? It's when John writes a check and he says for the water bill, it goes towards the water versus writing a check for rent and it goes towards the rent.
Yeah.
It's all money that goes to the town. What the official position is that the majority of it is the water bill. There was I think a $16,000 water bill that came out like late, like in October or something.
Yeah.
And so that makes up the bulk of it.
I'd like to, I don't know if it's the right time for this or not, but in the contract, we should have an end date specified. I don't know, I think we got caught up a little bit when we had an unspecified end date before. Not of, like, is it calendar year ending or is it, something else so that we can be better prepared to go out for renewal? It shouldn't be, all I'm saying is let's say they sign the contract on February 1st. It shouldn't run for 5 years through February 1st at the end date. The end date should be something we can control.
So what do you mean by something we can control? Like we
In the
should
contract.
control it right now or control it later?
Put it in the contract.
Yeah, so what would you, I mean, I don't know if we can do that because it is quote unquote 5 years. So I don't know legally if you can do that, but I can certainly run it by Dan.
Yeah, just a thought.
What would be a good end date for us?
I don't know. What did we do this year? October 31st, that didn't work out. Or it could be a calendar date. I'm not sure. I don't know what the optimum answer is, but something we should have some control over.
No, it didn't work out this year for different reasons, though.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I mean, if you can do it, I know Dan Script will say, let's assume we can pick the end. He'll say, what do you want it to be? So unless I have something to tell him, I can't.
I'd go for December 3rd, a calendar year end.
Calendar year end. Okay.
Right, because then that would give several months before the reopening in springtime.
Yeah.
And things would have already been winterized prior to, hopefully, right?
Yeah. Another point I'd like to mention, and as we go through this contract, it's a 5-year contract initially, we should get a commitment from them from 1 year out from the expiration, whether they intend to continue for an additional term.
So I'd have to refresh, but I think there's words in there that talk about it. It's up to us, right? It's not up to them. I mean, it's up to us to say, do you want to stay another 5? And it's up to them to come back and say yes or no.
Fair enough.
And we can do that. I'm just going on memory. I believe we can do that whenever we want. We can do that on day 1 if we want.
I don't see how that could ever be binding, though, because certainly John said right up until almost the end that he wanted to come back.
Well,
mean,
it becomes
you know what I'm
binding
saying?
if we say we want you to stay, and they say okay, we're going to stay, then there would be an amendment to the contract for the additional term.
Right, exactly. So
Okay, as long as, right.
if we had that one conversation a year in advance, then we can start working on the contract, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I don't want to play out the scenarios, but we could ask them and they could say yes, or they could say we don't know, or they could say no, but then still ask us to do it. But I think I like where you're going, Jim. Because if they say no, then we just start writing a new RFP and getting ready.
Exactly, because we got caught we're a little, I don't know when we went out this year, it was like August or something. That was too late. We previously went out in a June timeframe, so.
Yeah. I'm not so sure we can compare anything to the
Yeah.
prior manager, but no, but I will ask if we can do, I think it's cleaner also when we get into capital improvements, if it's cleaner, if it's a yearly thing, January to December.
Right.
One other thing, I'm sorry about, I saw the mosquito control guys out there along the right side of the 8th fairway. I've been told from the town, not unofficially, that they're going to actually extend this mosquito control all the way down the left side of the 6th fairway.
They were there today.
Yeah, okay, that's good. That's something that.
Well, I assume it was mosquito control, but when I was walking the dog, there was I don't know what kind of thing you call it, but it was scooping stuff out on the left side of 6, going close.
It is mosquito control.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were there today, approaching the green area, like, and that they were that far up already.
Perfect.
Yeah, I guess if anybody has any questions, that I would direct you to Tony or Zach because they're the ones dealing with the mosquito control. Tony did tell me I think I sent it to you guys. He did send me an email saying they were coming. I know on the selectmen's meeting last Thursday, I was on the call and they said they were going to try and get them to do as much as is humanly possible. Because they have all the permits from the DEP and all that other stuff, so it's easier for them to
Exactly.
do lots of things.
One last thing, I just want to put it down as a place marker for future reference, but I was thinking we need some type, it would be nice if we had a barrier on the road going into the golf course, protecting the ninth fairway from rocks and stuff, maybe Jersey barriers or some other device. But I'd like to just put that on the agenda for future reference.
I'm gonna call it berm on 9. Just,
Yeah,
we've talked about that before. I think it might actually even be in Brett's proposal as one of his, potential capital items.
The town has used, instead of the Jersey barriers at the beaches, has used those giant sandbags.
yeah, exactly. And that's what I was,
So those might be something that would be an easier fix than actually building a berm.
yeah, and I'm just saying temporary for the winter months and the bad.
Right,
storm.
right.
Okay, anything else?
That's it for me.
Whew.
Sorry.
Just kidding.
Imagine if Danny was here. Jeez. I'm not gonna tell him I said that.
Oh, yes, I am. Oh, it's executive session. Woo!
And
That's
tell
right,
them
you
it's
can't tell
passed
them.
unanimously.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so let me just jump into the things. So there's 3 specific things that they've asked us. I'll do the first. One of them, it's the easiest one, and I don't even know if it's necessarily anything we're going to vote on. That's going to be my recommendation. But in the draft contract, I asked if I could send this to the committee, the draft copy of the contract, and I was told I could, as long as that everybody knows not to forward this. I chose not to send it to the entire committee, and I will say, if anybody wants it, just ask me and I will send it to you. I'm not trying to hide anything for anybody. I know some people don't like to have this information. So if somebody wants it, I'd be happy to send it. But it's, it's draft and it's being changed as we speak.
I got disconnected for a minute. Did we come up with the first issue or just generalities at this point?
So what I was saying was that I have a copy of the draft contract that we're using as, negotiating with.
Yep.
And I have permission from Dan Script, or not permission, but I didn't know whether I could send it to the committee or not. Dan Script said I could, provided that nobody shared it. I didn't send it on purpose. I will if somebody wants it and you ask me, I'll send it to you individually. I just didn't want to send it to the group, and I know some people don't want these things. So if you want it, just shoot me an email and I'll send it to you.
But you said this is still a draft in progress.
It's a work in progress right now.
So there could be like 30,000 more of them before.
We're on
Not-
draft 2 right now. We're hoping we can get to closure. Maybe
Right.
draft 3 would be final.
Well, I'd prefer to wait till the final one myself, but.
Okay.
I don't want one at all.
I kind of figured that. So
Yeah.
you don't need to tell me whether you do or you don't. If you want one, shoot me an email or a text and I'll send it to you. The first thing I think is the easiest. So in the proposal, the RFP, under insurance coverage, so we asked, I wish I could show this, but it's minor. We listed, if you remember, like general aggregate insurance, 2 million, products, 1 million, personal injury, 1 million. We had a bunch of just different categories. And I don't think the committee ever had anything to do with that. I think that's all been there from the town from years ago, and we just carried it forward. When we got the bid from Brett and his R&B management, they included an estimate matching the RFP. And in the first draft of the contract, they asked us if we could basically cut them all in half, the current insurance limits. So like the general aggregate was 2 million, they wanted to make it 1 million. Products was 1 million, they wanted to make it 500,000. Personal injury was 1 million, they want to make it 500,000. So for whatever reason, a last minute question just came up today from Dan Script. He wanted the committee to weigh in on that. So he just sent it to me like a half an hour ago. So I said, okay, I'll ask the committee. Not to lead the witness, but I'll give you guys my opinion on this, and then you guys, whatever you want. I have always said that this has nothing to do with the committee. This is a town's thing. I don't care if it's 100 million or zero. I'm not an insurance agent. And again, that's, you know, that's really up to the town, in my opinion.
I disagree only because it was part of the RFP.
Fair enough.
I agree with what you're saying and maybe going forward in another contract, but changing anything that was voted on as accepted in an RFP after the RFP was accepted, to me, isn't acceptable.
Yeah, and I agree with that sentiment as well. And that's actually what I told Dan when they first proposed this. I said, hey, does this potentially cause a bid protest? Because
Right.
it costs a certain amount of money to have this much insurance versus another one. Dan said he would look into that. He wasn't sure and whatever. So I guess I'll just clarify what I said. It's not that I'm willing to let them go. I think, well, I think
the town should look at that, not us. I mean, as far, like you said, we're not insurance people and.
But you can't change the RFP after it went out and was accepted.
well, you can you can in some respects, because it is a proposal. If they come back and said, we did ask them why do you want to change it? And if they came back and said, well, they haven't come back yet. But for instance, if they came back and said, well, Gannon and 50 other golf courses in the surrounding area have even less than what we're proposing, then you could say, okay, it was probably a mistake in the RFP, and you could, according to Dan, be able to do that. In general, I agree with you, Joanne. Why would you,
Well, I'm just thinking back to the discussions we had when we were evaluating both RFPs, and we all, excuse me, we had questions on both.
Yeah.
And we at that time said we couldn't go back and ask them because they couldn't change whatever their bid was. Do you remember?
Yeah.
So I
Yes.
just don't see how that would be something that would be kosher to do after the fact.
Well, I'd just like to add that those evaluations we did which were focused on in the RFP, had nothing to do with insurance.
Yes, it did. That was one of the things in the bid. They had to show the company they were going to use and how much they were providing. That was in there.
Well, it wasn't in our specific questionnaire, but I think it would fall under the category of the
finances.
management.
Yeah. It's not something we discussed that night, if that's what you mean, Jimmy, but it certainly was in the RFP.
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying.
Well, I think what he meant is it wasn't
the 5 or 6 areas we're asked to evaluate
Right.
did not include insurance.
Well, it included financial stability, and I would assume that proof of insurance would fall under financial stability.
I don't know. But I mean, this thing whole stuff sounds kind of crazy, because if you buy $1 million of insurance and you go to 2 million, it's a small increase. You're paying, 75% of that number on the first million type of deal. So
you're saying it's funny that they would even, like, this would be a stickling point for them?
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think it's that big of a number. I'd like to know, but I mean,
Well, I know it was like $12,000 because it was in the proposal for the higher number. I don't know if you cut it in half, I don't know what it would be. You're right. Based on my experience with insurance, it wouldn't be cut in half.
it wouldn't be cut in half. It might lose 25 to 30%, but that's about it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a roadblock to signing the contract. And I don't even, like I said, Dan just asked me, because he knows we're meeting. He just texted me and asked me to have this discussion. So, I mean, it almost sounds like the consensus, and I'd entertain a motion, but it almost sounds like the consensus is, in general, this isn't something that the committee has any knowledge or input on. However, we would recommend going with what was in the original RFP. I think, right? Isn't that kind of what we're all agreeing, saying?
I just lost you again. What were you saying the consensus is?
I said, I think the consensus is that this isn't really something the committee would have any input on. And our feeling is that since it was in the original RFP, that's what it should be.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Peter, you might want to add just that the fear we have is if we change that, it might invalidate the RFP process. Or whatever.
I can. The only problem with adding that is if Dan Script says, no, that it won't.
Well, leave it at that and let's hear what the other two items are, because if the other two items are also anything related, we can kind of blanket them all together.
They're not. They're a little different. So
Okay.
so I'm going to make the motion that, I'm writing it as I say it, insurance coverage, typically, yell at me if I say a word you don't like, not in the golf course committee's purview. I don't know if purview is the right word, but I'm going to use it.
Yeah,
But-
that's the right word.
Put a big old butt in there.
Yep. However,
I like
That's-
that.
that's a grown-up butt. However, we feel the numbers in the RFP should remain as is.
Probably should be honored.
Should be, I like that, honored.
Yeah, because I mean, if you
as is.
think,
Hold on,
if you-
hold on. There's a motion that's
Okay.
on the table.
oh, sorry.
So do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any further discussion?
I was just going to say, if you think back to when we were evaluating the RFPs, had they put in half of what we were asking, it would have become a discussion point. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yes, I think honestly, I think if they wanted to do this, they should have asked us or submitted it with their proposal.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That at that point, we would have talked about it. We didn't talk about it because it was exactly what was being asked for. So I'm just
Well,
agreeing with
but if
what you
you-
said.
Yeah, if you go back even further, when we were discussing the RFP in general, before we went out to bid, none of us even looked at this. We all just said, yep, I'm sure. We all just skipped through that page and, whatever
Right.
the town wants there.
Right,
I think if they did ask during the proposal phase, we would have said, we don't know, that's up to the town. And then if the town agreed, then the town would have issued an amendment to the RFP and told all the bidders,
that it could have been half, right,
it can be cut in half because that might impact what they bid.
right.
So any further discussion on the motion? Okay, I'll read it just one more and then we'll take a vote. Insurance coverage is typically not in the golf course committee's purview. However, we feel the numbers in the RFP should be honored as is. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Joanne Dunn, aye. Oh, sorry.
John Lombard, aye.
Jim O'Connor, aye.
Luke?
Luke, aye.
Pete Fitzpatrick, aye. And Joanne, to your point, if the next couple tie back into that, we can always revise the motion.
Okay,
All right, so the next one involves, I had the right page up. So our R&B management came to us and said that that there's some defects that they would like fixed within the first year of the agreement. And I'm just going to read them because this is what I wanted you guys to see, but I'll just read them. I think you probably all know most of them. Town shall repair the leaking roof in the 3-season patio room, and town shall remove any and all mold that has formed as a result thereof. Town shall repair the broken front door so that it properly locks. Town shall replace the 3-season patio entrance door on the parking lot side, which currently has shattered glass. Town shall repair the 4 main windows along the front of the building and the 1 window inside the pro shop so that the locking mechanisms can be secured properly. Town shall replace the main heating unit located on the roof of the building, which is near the end of its service life. Town shall repair or replace the walk-in refrigeration unit, which is not able to keep the appropriate temperature while the freezer does. And number 7, the town shall repair or replace the fire suppression system. So what's transpired with this, in the first draft of the contract, they put these in and said that the town would go fix them. As a negotiating position, we said no to all of them. I didn't necessarily agree with that. But that's what the town wanted, to go back and just say no. They were trying to act, I'd be careful. They were trying to act like tough guys in their negotiation. So then they came back and put it back in and wanted it to be done as a capital improvement in the first year. So that's the current request that's on the table, and that's why we're kind of being asked, because what I said on the selectmen's meeting, I said, Tony, you need to decide, what the town is going to be responsible for as far as the building. I mean, I know when you rent residential property, if the heat doesn't work, I call my landlord and he has to fix it. And if the roof leaks, I call my landlord and he has to fix it. So all of the things that they're asking for, or almost all of the things that they're asking for from a residential perspective, in my mind, are things that the landlord should be responsible for. Now, according to Dan's script, on commercial, that's not always the case. In commercial, you can say, here, everything is yours, you do everything. So we can make this whatever we want it to be. So understanding that, I said, okay, Tony, you have to decide what you want. And so finally, I think Tony agreed with some coaxing from Mark Cullen in the meeting. Again, this was executive session stuff, so don't repeat it. But Tony agreed that these were all things that the town is responsible to fix. During this whole process, they kept saying, should it be the town fixes it? Should it be capital improvements? And then they would ask me. I said, first off, you got to decide if you're going to fix it or not. Then worry about whether you write a check or whether it comes out of capital improvements. That's separate. So now they've made the decision that these things are things that should be fixed, and they wanted to put it into the capital improvement program, and that's where they asked me. And I said, I can't speak for the committee. And I said, we have people on the committee today, but when these things get submitted 3 months from now, we might have different people on the committee. So I don't even know if we can commit. So then they said, okay, can you talk to the committee and get a feel for what they think of all of these items? Now, I'm going to knock off a couple of them so we don't have to go through each one. So town shall replace the fire suppression system. So apparently we found out through this process that the fire suppression system hasn't worked for over a year. The fire suppression system that we have been paying Johnny Moore for, that hasn't worked for over a year.
That's a brand new system, right? 4 years old, 3 years old.
Yep. And so the town is fixing it. We're already under contract. We already got an estimate, and they already,
Okay.
Somebody's going in to fix it. So that comes off the list.
Okay.
So that's coming out of town money.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. The walk-in refrigeration unit. So this is coming off the list too, because this is the big one that's outside that Johnny Moore put in. And when we did the walkthroughs with the potential bidders, we explicitly stated, this will not be here. This is Johnny Moore's. It's not part of the thing. So you need to, figure out what you're going to do for refrigeration in your proposal. So it was never something that we included. Well, as time passed, Johnny Moore decided he was going to be a great guy because he owed us money, and he said he was going to gift it to the town. And then in the same breath, he told Brett he wanted to sell it to Brett. Well, then we find out that the thing doesn't work, and it will cost $1,000 to fix, and it's only worth $2,000. So the town's position is, since during the RFP, we told the bidders that wasn't going to be there, that it's not, it's Johnny Moore's right now. And if somebody, we're not even saying this, but if they worked out a deal with Johnny where Johnny gives it to them, then they can have it and they can fix it, or they have to get one on their own. So that they're not even asking for our input on that one. So that one kind of comes off the list.
Okay.
Town to replace the main heating unit. So I think they would like our input on that one, but let me tell you where it stands right now. So the first thing that we talked about was, okay, does a heating system work? And I guess the answer is yes, it works. It's just old. And then we said, okay, so as landlords, does that mean because a tenant moves in and wants a new heater, we have to give it to them? Not necessarily, as long as the old one works. So we asked for R&B management to give us, I think it was Stevens that said it needed to be replaced. We asked them to give us some information on what the cost would be to replace it and why it needs to be replaced. And we do have an estimate from Stevens, put in a new one. We just got it a couple days ago. Tony has also asked for somebody else to go evaluate it. So we could certainly discuss it, but it looks like the town is going to check it out, and if it needs to be fixed or replaced, that they will. If it doesn't, if it's just old, I would think that the town is going to say, well, no, I'm not going to replace it just because it's old.
What was the cost of a new system?
I think it was, I can pull it up. I think it was 11,000 or something like that.
But that's another thing we don't have to decide today.
Yes, that's, I mean, I know well, only we can because Johnny brought it up earlier. If you want to give me some input. So it's 11,800 from somebody.
But that was to replace it,
That's to replace it, yeah.
but we don't even know if it needs to be replaced.
Well,
Well, according to Dan Stevens, it needs to be
Yeah.
replaced.
But it's
Stevens-
functioning.
Stevens went in there about a year ago and did some work on it. And he told Moore that, you know, we can patch this up, but you're gonna need a new system. That was over a year ago, so it probably does need a new system. So
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When you were talking about the three scenarios that may happen, one of them, the last one was, well, it's old, but we're not going to replace it. Go ahead. Does that mean that we would replace it, let's say, 2 years into the contract and the heater died on us?
So that's the $1 million question that I've been working months to get out of the town.
Yeah.
I
I can see if you're going forward saying, hey, it works, but they
Right.
also have to be available to replace or repair.
Well, I think, and this just came up Thursday night, right? It sounded like the discussions on Thursday night. Tony's gone back and forth. He's been waffling on this. One minute he says, "Oh yeah, we should be responsible for the bones of the building," and then the next minute he says, "I don't want anything to do with it. They should be responsible." But the latest trending, if you will, in the town is that things, major things, structural integrity of the building, fire suppression, heating system would be the responsibility of the town.
Okay.
But the town may at this point say, we're not going to do anything because it's just old, right?
They
But
could
they would
say
replace it but they would replace it if it broke down during the life of the contract.
Yes, that's what it
My
sounds like the plan is. They want, Brett R&B will be responsible for the maintenance, routine
Right.
maintenance of all of the systems. And if he doesn't maintain the system and it fails because of his poor maintenance procedures, then that could be an issue.
That sounds reasonable.
Luke, were you going to say something? I don't know if.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think as a committee, if you want to relay something to them, you could just say, look, the committee feels that they should either replace it and or just if you want to wait, that's wait, but give them the assurance that if it does fail, the town will be responsible for replacing it. Period.
Yeah, I think I want them to give not only yes, R&B and us as a committee, so we know going forward because you know what's going to happen. The furnace is going to break.
Yeah, they're going to put it on us.
And they're going to say, okay, well, the town doesn't have any money, so we want to use capital improvements.
yeah, we don't want that.
Well, we may not. I mean, we may not have a choice because we only recommend. So we could recommend not to do it, but then the town selectmen could say, well, too bad, we're gonna. But
as you said, though, the committee changes, the selectmen change too. So what the selectmen
Yeah.
say, they may not be the same selectmen next year.
Exactly, but what gets put into the contract becomes, that's where it,
Right.
that's.
Well, I think that, go ahead.
Go ahead,
All I was
Joey.
saying is, which is why we're suggesting they put in the contract if they want to wait. If they don't want to put the money out now, just say you should put in the contract. The town will provide the funding if it fails. Now, the challenge there again is if Dan's smart, he won't stipulate that it's the town and they still come out of our pocket.
Well, they wouldn't just be able to go on Dan's, they would need other estimates too. And they would need other opinions for that amount of money, right?
Well, there's one more complicating factor.
No.
As always, right? If we put in the contract as Luke says that, yes, we will fix all of these things, then there's potential for, a bid protest. Because why didn't we tell everybody that we would have fixed all these things? Somebody arguably could have looked at it and said, oh, geez, the heating system is bad and this is bad. I got to pay to fix all those things. I don't want anything to do with it.
The heat system come up after, I guess, after the bid, right? I mean,
No, not if you said John Moore had it looked at a year ago and said it needed to be replaced.
Yeah, but
By the way, I don't agree with that logic, Peter, because all you have to, whoever says no has the right to say no. If you want to go for it and you then can, try and debate whether or not you get more out of the town, that's your risk. It didn't state in the bid, you'll be responsible for the heater. So you can't make that assumption
vague.
and then make the argument.
It's vague. It says you're responsible for everything. So it's very vague,
Well, it does say the maintenance, right?
It does say the maintenance.
So the maintenance, and they are still going to be responsible for the maintenance if the town decided to replace the heating system, right?
Yes, our plan is to have RFP be responsible for.
I'm just thinking in the long term, the building still belongs to the town. So if the fire suppression system failed and the building burnt down, it would be on the town, right? The same thing if the heating system failed and everything broke inside. I don't know what happens when heating systems fail. But I think those two items sound like a landlord issue to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's in a hot building. They should turn it over,
So how do you feel about all of these items being done as a capital improvement?
Well, they're not all the same type of items, right?
No, well, they're all for the building.
I think there's a difference between improving the building and protecting it from burning down. I don't know.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily get hung up on, the word improvement. If you replace a sprinkler head, is that any different than replacing a heating system? I mean, it's a replacement, so it's something new, so you could argue it's an improvement. So don't get caught up in the words. All I'm saying is that they want to get a feeling for how the committee would feel if we were under contract right now and these list of 7 items or 5 items got submitted to us as a capital improvement. What would we do?
Did we change the words to what percentage of the money could go for building capital improvements, or did we leave that open?
I think we left it open to up to us.
You probably have to increase that if you can do all this work.
Oh, you can't.
So there you go. That's what I agree, because we can go up to 50,000 with this approval from the selectmen. I like the way you're thinking.
I'm looking at it like this. I said the three major ones have kind of gone away, right? The fire suppression, town's taking that. Walking, John Moore, that's a separate transaction. And the heating system, I think if we went back and said, you open it up small, but you got to, the major repairs and replacement, I think the town should be responsible. The rest of these things are pretty small, in my opinion.
Yep.
Except for maybe the front door.
I don't think that's even huge. I think to replace it was 10,000. So I don't know how much it would cost to fix it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not fixable, but. So back to my question, if these few items, take out the big ones, but the front door, the broken window and that kind of things, if those came into us as a capital improvement request, how would we feel?
Could you just repeat the 4 items that are left?
Yeah. Town shall repair the leaking roof in the 3-season patio room, and town shall remove any and all mold that has formed as a result thereof. Town shall repair the broken front door so that it properly locks. Town shall replace the 3-season patio entrance door on the parking lot side, which currently has shattered glass. Town shall repair the 4 main windows along the front of the building and the one window inside the pro shop so that the locking mechanisms can be secured properly. And that's it. Then you get into the heating and the refrigerator and the fire suppression.
I mean, the windows are just a locking mechanism. I think you could probably, get something to add that capability to the existing, which already have there. It seems, makes sense.
I would think that, I agree with you. I would think
Yeah.
I mean, a leaking roof, that's I don't know, that's and mold remediation, if there is any, that might potentially get expensive. Or
I
maybe
could live,
not.
I could
Yeah.
live with those as capital improvements.
Would you live with it better if we said something like, yeah, we're okay with entertaining these as capital improvements, provided we have the support of the selectmen to go above and beyond the $20,000, so we can still do our regular long-term capital plan.
I like that wording.
Yeah, write it down quick, Peter.
I already forgot. All right, what did I say?
Oh,
We'd be considerate for capital improvements, as long as we had the support of the Board of Selectmen to go above and beyond the 20K or whatever it is, and start, to keep constant maintenance upgraded to the course itself.
the long term, you said, I think the long term.
Long-term
improvements.
capital plan.
Yeah,
So items, I'm writing it down now. Items would be considered for capital improvements.
easy for you to say.
Yeah, right. Provided that the selectmen, or do I have to say select women? Select all? What is it? Select people? What would be the right terminology these days?
Amen and a woman.
Items considered capital improvements provided that the selectmen were, what was my 50-cent word?
Supporting, would support,
Were willing,
we're
right?
willing to.
Yeah, willing to-
Willing
to
to
exceed
increase the
Yearly capital
20.
improvement.
yearly.
field improvements or course improvements,
to
Capital
increase-
improvements too,
the course.
Well, wait. So the selectmen were willing to increase the 20K yearly limit.
in order to,
Yep. In order to be able to
continue to address the, I don't know.
continue to work
Continue to make
on
capital
the
improvements
long-term,
to the course.
on the long-term capital plan. How's that?
That sounds good.
All right, so here he is. Pete Fitzpatrick's making a motion. Items would be considered for capital improvements provided that the selectmen were willing to increase the $20,000 yearly limit in order to be able to continue to work on the long-term capital plan of the course. Of the, yeah, of the course.
Of the course.
Do I have a second?
Second,
There we go. So any further discussion?
I think the building should be turned over to the new tenants with the roof repairs, the door fixed, the heating system put in. I think we just, I think that it's a hot building. They should turn it over in good shape. That's my feeling.
well,
that
either
that
way,
motion-
Kind of what we're saying.
Right, that motion you just made was just about the last 4 items, right?
The first 4 items, but the 4.
Oh, whatever, yeah. And
Yes.
the other 3, we are, the refrigeration unit is separate, but the fire suppression and the heating is the town. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I guess if they came to us and just hypothetically, if they said, okay, we want the heating system, which is $12,000 to be done as a capital improvement, essentially in lieu of rent, then we would still support it based on this motion, as long as the selectmen gave us $32,000 in that year. Because what would we care necessarily, right?
Well, no, because then that would be really still coming out of the rentee as opposed to the owner.
It all comes back to town money. It doesn't.
It all comes down to exactly I agree, Jim. It doesn't matter whether the tenant writes it, you know,
But I don't see how you see that. They would still have to pay, the R&B would have to pay for it as opposed to the town paying for it.
that they wouldn't pay rent.
Yeah, all right. But I think the way we worded it initially is, I mean, I liked what you said first about the selectmen, I mean, the heating system.
What did I say?
So the new tenants are gonna have to probably come up with 25,000 for repairs to that building before they even move in.
No,
I don't see
Well,
it being
You're
that much
talking-
money.
You're talking a front door. We got a price from the Wilson brothers 4 years ago for about 10, 11,000, right? For that entrance. And the heating system's another 10, 11,000. So, I mean, there's 20 grand there. I mean, I don't know. I think being in a Nahant building, I think they should turn it over in good shape. That's I don't know. Then,
but the way the RFP was worded was that it was the responsibility of the lessee, which is why we also put in that capital improvement money could be spent on the building, right?
yeah, but what happens if they come back and they say, no, it's up to 50, but we can give you 30.
Well, remember the money,
Yeah.
this is all just a recommendation, right? We don't have any control. The selectmen can say, well, tough shit, we are gonna fix the heater and we are gonna use capital improvements and you're getting nothing. They can do that. I mean, right?
Right.
And you, John, you make a good point. You know, they're gonna have to pay for this up front and then get rent, you know, not pay the first month's of rent.
Yeah.
But you know, if they have to do all these things on day one, it could be 20 grand.
In the times we're in right now, I mean, it's gonna be no restaurant down there. It's gonna be no, I mean.
So you don't, what I would say to that is don't include that in your thinking because, I'm scrolling down on the thing, like I'm gonna say, look at this. There is a COVID-19 pandemic clause in the contract. And it's still being negotiated. It's not even worth me telling you what they asked and what we've come back with because Dan Script is going out and doing research on what other people are doing for this. So there is going to be some reduction in rent.
Peter?
Yes.
I gotta go in a minute. Do you need me to vote on this?
We still have a quorum if you leave. So I think, right, we have 6 members and 4 would be a quorum.
Oh, okay.
So do
Sorry, guys,
you
I
have
had a
any
meeting.
comments? Do you want to make before you go?
No, I think you just simply state that the committee would like to reserve its usage of these funds for the betterment of the property and the course, right? To the extent that the town is not willing to provide those funds, we would like them to increase we will accept them, but we'd like you to increase our ability to continue to provide those funds otherwise.
So, which is what the motion pretty much states, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I'm saying aye. Luke, what tell aye? Okay, I gotta go.
Okay. Thanks.
We vote on that motion? Oh, all right, too late.
I think he just did. Everybody still there?
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, so we do have a motion on the table. Is there any further discussion on the motion as it's written? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Joanne Dunn, aye.
Pete Fitzpatrick, aye.
Jim O'Connor, aye.
Jay Lombard, present.
What does that mean?
No, I mean,
You can say no,
I'll
and
go along with you, but I don't know. I like to see the thing in whole, you know. But yeah, I'm with you guys. Go ahead. Aye.
Okay, thank you. Johnny, I will relay your concerns to, I have a meeting tomorrow with Dan Script and Tony, and I will articulate your concerns, because I agree. We
Because
all
it's a
look at
lot of
it
work.
as,
We'd like to do the outback and the whole thing down the road, and
well,
uh,
that I think we can still do. I do, you bring up a good point. If all of a sudden, okay, right now it's only 20 grand, what if we find some more things and it's 50? And now we're
Yeah.
expecting R&B to come up with 50 grand. Yeah, they won't have to pay rent for their first 5 months, but they still have to come up with that money right out of the gate. So,
yeah, I mean, that's.
but the flip side of this, so the flip
Yeah.
side is both bidders, more than anyone, know all of the issues with the building. So none of these things are a surprise to Brett and
Yeah.
Rhiannon, because
But I
Brett's been
think-
working there.
I think Brett will be a better tenant, like keeping maintenance and up on the heating system.
Right, but he was aware of all these issues when he made the bid, though, is basically what
Yeah.
we're saying.
Yeah.
Your due diligence, I mean, you should know what you're bidding for.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
I think he'd be 100% better than the other guy. More.
Yep. Okay, so let's move on to the last one. And I gotta go to another page here. So the last one is the water stipend.
The water what?
The water stipend.
Oh, okay.
So I don't exactly remember when it changed, but we put in $10,000 or $15,000 as a water stipend. It was in the contract when Mike had it, and then the town manager at the time when we bid to Johnny Moore, they wanted to take that out.
Mhm.
We as a committee thought that we should put it back in. And so it was put back into the contract, but it was put in, and I don't remember where this actually happened, but it was put in that it would be negotiated with the new tenant. So that's where we're at, negotiating the water stipend.
If I recall, I think you made that motion, Jim, because we didn't know what the bid would be, how close the bid would be to what the town was asking for.
I
So we
think
didn't
that
wanna-
might have been where it came from. Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds
we didn't
familiar.
want to put in an amount and then find out the best bid was as
No, no.
low.
We suggested an amount, but they took that, whoever put, the final RFP did not include that wording.
No, but I think we took it out because we didn't want it to be, the town was asking 96,000, but we didn't know what we would get, and you didn't want it to end up being a gigunda amount. I don't know.
No, I think you're right. I
I
think
think
that's
that
what
was
we
done
did.
by the attorney before the RFP went out.
It was definitely done before the RFP went out,
Oh, yeah.
without a doubt.
But I remember discussing it in that little room, but anyway,
Yeah, it doesn't really matter where it came from because it went out that way.
what are they asking?
So the first pass, they came back and they wanted, let's see. They gave us two proposals. They said, town shall be responsible for the water for the months of July and August, and they would cover the rest. Or alternatively, the town will give a water stipend of $10,000 with 50% off the total water bill for July and August.
So then it's not $10,000.
Well, I think it might have been, I don't remember, it might have been 15, but it was something to negotiate. So it doesn't really matter what the number is. This is what they came back with, and this is a fair request. The town's first position, again, don't repeat any of this stuff because these are like, this is how you negotiating stuff. We came back and said, hey, we were expecting to give a water stipend of, some number, $10,000 or $15,000 if we got the minimum bids. They bid 84,000. So that was our first salvo to combat theirs. So then I went to the selectmen.
Valid point.
What's that?
Valid point.
Yep. So we went back and forth with the selectmen after being on the phone for 4 hours, and everybody was tired. So, so then they threw it to us and asked us to come up with something. And so they almost voted. I actually pushed them. I go, why don't you just guys pick a number between 0 and 10? It isn't the end of the world. Let's just be done with this. So they actually made a motion to give the committee, don't get excited though, because then they canceled the motion. They made a motion to give the committee the authority to come up with a number between 2 and 8,000. And I was like, perfect. We'll go discuss it and we'll come up with a number. But then they withdrew that because they had second thoughts. And then they get into, well, if we give them $8,000, then they won't care about water conservation. And should we spend the money putting in rain sensors? And in my opinion, they just went down this rabbit hole. You know, we had already decided that they should get a stipend, and okay, maybe it should be less now because the contract is lower. My feeling was it wasn't because of water conservation. It was because we want to make sure they do in fact water. Because I think that was our concern, right? If they're paying for it, they might not water and the course might go to crap.
Exactly.
Then the infamous well came up. Why don't we have a well? And maybe we should look into doing a well instead of giving them water stipend and all this other stuff. So then the next thing they said, well, what about leaks? The majority, Mark Collins says the majority of the time the water bill is high is because the system leaks. And if we give them a stipend, they're not going to be really necessarily caring about fixing the leaks because they're not paying for the water in the first place. So maybe we should do a pressure test on the system, and we should do it randomly 3 times a year. And if they pass 2 of those 3 tests, then we'll give them the stipend.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't recall Brett complaining of any leaks last year,
There was a few,
but not major, not like in the past.
but there's always some. There's going to be some, no doubt about
Do
it.
we, this has faded out a couple of times to me, so I don't know if you missed it. I missed this. Do we know what the water bill was for last year?
Yeah, it was like $17,000.
Total for the whole year?
I think it was in that
In that
neighborhood.
vicinity?
Yeah.
Wow.
So can we just make a motion of an amount we think is fair?
Well, let's look at the 2 proposals we have in front of us.
Before you make
I didn't hear any
before you make a motion, because I'm just telling you the whole story. So then the next day, one of our selectmen sent an email to us. After thinking about it more, I do not think we should offer any water allowance because it's the money that the town will lose, equivalent to taking the allowance money right off the top of the lease, which is already lower than we would have liked. It is a disincentive to water conservation efforts like rain sensors.
I bet I can guess who that was.
Yeah, I can tell you, it's public information. This came from Josh.
I knew it.
Yeah, is a disincentive to a well installation, which seems to me to be a good solution for all parties. Puts the responsibility of monitoring the system for irrigation leaks on the town. So those things came, we don't even need to discuss whether we agree or disagree, but they did come from a selectman.
Again, I would like to go back to what went out in the RFP. It said that there would be a water allowance and it would be negotiated, correct?
Yes.
So we don't change, we couldn't change it on other things. Why would we change it now?
Well, because when it says to be negotiated, we can negotiate it to 0.
Right, but that's disingenuous. That's not the way the RFP went out.
Except that they bid lower than the minimum.
They're $12,000 below the minimum required.
Right.
Right, so we don't have to give them the full amount of money that we had thought initially.
We don't have to give them anything. This is clear. This is not anything that's up for bid or anything. This was just to be negotiated. So we don't have to give them anything.
No, I get that, but I feel like we should give them something.
My personal feeling is we put it in there for a reason, because we, as the golf committee, want to make sure that they do in fact water. And this helps them out to make sure that they're going to at least spend whatever number, right? At a minimum, they're going to spend that number for water. And they can't come back and tell us, oh, it was a dry summer, we had the big water bills. We can say, well, we paid half of it.
Right.
My personal feeling. That's why I wanted to put it in there. And I do trust Brett. He's not going to just go turn the thing on and let it run all day long overnight and in the rain. I mean, he's going to put it on when he needs it. I don't see, leaks. I think that's a valid concern, but I think you deal with that when it happens.
I agree.
I like to throw a comment in here, but when John Moore left, he was around 25 grand in arrears, primarily on water, let's assume.
Yes.
Previous management team left 40 grand on the table when they walked out because on water.
Yep.
So I think there should be a shared, I like your idea of 50-50. 60-40, something. June and July, but the downfall of that, the reason I don't like that, let's say June, which in many cases is still cold and miserable, but now August is your bad month. They're incented for June and July, but not for August, you know what I'm saying?
Jim, I think that some of the selectmen who are concerned more with saving the water and the planet, I don't think they would like that, the 60/40 or the 50/50, because then they would say they are using more water than they need to. I think we'd be better picking a number.
I agree. I'm just trying to look at different, I'd say.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking that the selectmen have the right to overrule, and if they're already talking about saving water, that may not be the best route to go.
What I'd like to see is have a fixed amount. Let's pick a number, $4,000, $5,000, some number. And then in a parallel, research the well. And if the well is the long range solution, fine, we can give them the credit until the well comes online. But chances, I mean, how many years have we been talking about a well?
At
Right.
least 5, yeah.
Right.
I like the way Jimmy's thinking. I guess I don't want to, if I'm the town, I don't want to give them, 50% off the bill for July and August, because that means somebody now has to go make sure that the meter was read in July and August, and somebody will forget and they won't know, because that's not the normal meter read time. So, and then like you said, it could rain every day in July and you don't use the water at all, and then it's bone dry in August and you get screwed. So I don't like that number. I like giving them a flat rate, whatever it is, right off the top. And I do agree that we put in words that not only a well, but we can echo the selectmen. We can say, hey, we want to entertain in our long-term capital plan a well and any other water conservation
Right.
techniques.
Right. Well, I'm thinking if the number
I don't mean it.
if the number last year was 17,000 for the water, right?
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, so then we can pick a number based on that we think is, would be a reasonable contribution.
Well, I think we have to pick a number based on what was in our RFP.
We didn't have a number in the RFP.
I'm just looking at it right now.
I thought we took the number out.
I don't know if we'd want to mention it in the well discussion, but potentially where I've always viewed it, whether it would ever happen, is that would be enough water to water the baseball fields type of thing. Further.
Growing up in Nahant, we used to skate on that pond down there, and that was probably the best ice in Nahant. So that's all fresh water if they just dig that between 7 and 8 out, we could get a pump, be less expensive than a well, and tie it into the irrigation system. The money will be up front to dig it all out, but the Hart Road back drains into that pond, and that'd be cheaper. But you have to go through the Conservation Commission and the state. And
Peter, wouldn't it be easier if we come up with a number and say that we also support looking into other ways rather than being too specific about a well, or just kind of leave it open?
Yeah,
Fine.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
I don't think we want to get locked into any particular way, but certainly we are all in agreement that if there are other ways to get water, that's fine. It's fine with us. But in the meantime, they should get some credit.
Yeah, I mean, if you think that we were,
if you took the bill for the last 3 years down there and come up with an average and give them 40% of the,
Well, let's assume that average to be about $17,000. Last year was a pretty typical year. It wasn't really wet all year. So, I mean, that's a reasonable number.
Yeah, I was going to suggest the 8,000 number, but.
That would be about half, which I don't think they'd go for.
All right, so should we go a little less?
I'd go for 6 myself, 5 or 6. Let's say 6 and let them work it down.
I'd go half.
They're not going to go for half. They already have kind of kiboshed that, right? Their best bet was between 2 and 8, and then they removed that.
Yeah.
well, yeah, they said between 2 and 8. I'm almost thinking that, I don't know, I could from a negotiation standpoint, let's go to 8 and let them come down to 6.
Fair enough.
I don't know, that's just a thought. We can
Yeah,
be
no,
any-
I agree, because they're not going to accept it off the top anyway. So Jim,
Yeah,
you want to make a motion?
So you want to go to 8?
Yes.
Go to HB.
Do we lose you or are you thinking?
Hello?
Sure, just when you told him to make a motion, we lose him.
What happened?
We lost you.
I don't know what's going on here. Anyway,
It's happening to mine too. I keep losing connection.
yeah, for some reason. Okay, I'd like to make a proposal that we set the water stipend at $8,000 annually. In parallel, explore.
Lost him again.
Well, you got right down what he said so far till he comes back.
Yeah.
In the meantime, explore.
I got water stipend at 8,000 annually in parallel, and then that's all I heard.
Okay, in parallel, explore alternate water conservation measures. Hello?
Mike,
Yep,
Yeah, that's
are writing
good.
it down.
like it. I'll second that.
Such as a well or a pump house. Just leave it open.
Well, what was the rain thing they said too?
Rain sensors. You want to put that in too?
Well, might as well put everything in that they talked about, right? To make it
Yeah.
sound like we care. I mean, we do care.
I don't understand the purpose of rain sensors.
I don't, on a working golf course where you turn on the water and you know, I agree. I mean, at your home, I understand because you
Yeah.
water your grass twice a day for an hour and you're not there. And so if it rains, it stops. I don't think we should invest in rain sensors.
You know, it's pretty funny that every day that it's pouring raining, the cemetery is being watered. So
Yeah.
maybe they should put them up there.
Well, so
Let's push that one completely under the rug yet, because I mean,
Okay.
this whole thing is controlled at one station. If you had one rain sensor there to shut down the system, that's probably pretty straightforward to do.
Well, the only reason I was suggesting it is if it was something that Josh was pushing that, you know, we're trying to make them accept our proposal. So I was just trying to make it sound as friendly as I could.
And I agree with you, and I don't think it's a big ask to have that at the control station.
I think you're right. You know, a lot of them actually have that. Most control stations have a rain sensor there.
Yeah.
All right.
So, all right. So I'm going to read it back to you. Water stipend at 8,000 annually in parallel. Explore alternate water conservation measures such as well, pump house, and/or rain sensors. Does that sound right?
That sounds right.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Jim O'Connor, aye.
Pete
Hello?
Fitzpatrick, aye.
Oh, I got lost again. I got my internet. Joanne Dunn, aye.
All right. So I got everybody. So it's unanimous. All right. So anything, let me just check my phone to see if Dan Script sent me anything.
Can I just ask one other question I thought of earlier? I had heard talk, and I don't know if it's just stupid Nahant gossip, that Brett was planning to be closed through March, like every year.
Let me tell you exactly what he said, because that was one of the things that we
Because
made
that would be a
certain,
that would be a stickler for me
right?
if we ever get to go out again.
No, I made sure that I told them that that was a non-starter for the committee, if that's what his intent was, because his proposal was vague on when he would
Right.
be open and closed.
Right.
So we did get some. Where the hell is it? I know we make sure it's still here and that it didn't. Sometimes these things, you look for them and they're there, and then you forget about it and they come off. Oh, one other thing that they just for as I scroll down this, we're taking out, or they asked if they could take out the, that we can examine their books whenever we want, and so they're gonna just give us an annual financial statement. And then if they get behind on rent, we have the ability to ask for financials. I didn't think it was a big deal because we never want them anyway.
Right.
Where the heck is it? How come it's not in here?
Peter, I got a question on the membership. When do you think that's gonna go out? A lot of the other guys would ask me if it's gonna go up or down. Or...
Well, all I can tell you is that what we put in was to keep
Yeah.
it the same,
Yeah,
but that would be something that that's one of the first things we would do once we get,
Once there's a contract,
yeah.
he can't set it without, he can't set it without it being brought to us, right?
correct. And
Could-
we
could
have
we-
to approve that.
Could we tell him if he changed it, didn't change it from last year, he doesn't need our approval?
No, what if he wanted to go down to get people back?
Yeah. All right, yeah,
Well,
good point.
I wouldn't say that then, because it
But he
did go
can't.
up.
He can't ask for anything until he's under contract anyway. So, and I mean,
Right.
the day we sign the contract, we're gonna probably have a golf course committee meeting the day after with him.
Right. I mean, it might behoove him to give people a break this first year to get people back since there were so few members last year.
Yep.
So I wouldn't want to lock him into the current things.
So it doesn't, so this is what it says. To include these off-season restaurant hours, November 1 to March 31st, Thursday 4:30 to 9, and Friday through Sunday 11:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. These hours are dependent upon the weather based on a matrix agreed upon by R&B management and the golf course committee.
What does that mean? What matrix would we?
It means he's going to give us a, that's their general hours. And they're gonna, I'm guessing they're gonna give us some, if a snowstorm, I don't know.
Oh, okay. You mean about the weather closings?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
but we can always say no because it has to be approved with us. So,
Right.
so I thought that was okay because,
So they'd be totally closed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from when? November?
November 1 to March 31, but dependent upon the weather.
But it could be, but it's not going to be more than that.
No, I'm thinking that they could still, November this year was really good weather, right? So they arguably might stay open longer. Different hours.
Okay.
Yes.
But that's
Those would
something
be
that-
the minimum hours,
minimum. Okay.
unless, I mean, they can always stay open longer, right? But those would be the minimum hours unless they agree to with us. I think what they're trying to cover is there was a lot of people complained because, if it rained out 3 drops, Johnny Moore would close the restaurant. And I think.
No, right. No, I get that. I just was, it should be open at least part of every week, all year long.
Yeah, well, that's what he said. From November 1 to March 31, they're going to be open
Right.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
It's okay with me.
Any other questions or comments? I just scanned through quickly, see if there's anything else. You guys nearly.
Wow, this meeting has been an hour and a half and Danny wasn't even at it.
I know it. Well, there's a lot of stuff going on. What else? Yeah, there's nothing else in here that the rest is just legal crap. So that's all I have.
Excellent. We just can make a motion?
Yep. We need to I'll make a motion to exit executive session.
Did we vote on the last issue?
Yep. That was the water
Okay.
stipend. Was your motion.
I know, that's why I felt threatened.
It was unanimous. Unanimous.
You're losing it.
Who's that?
So I made a motion to exit executive session.
Not to return, right? So I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Joanne Dunn, aye.
Mark Connor, aye.
Pete
Jay
Fitzpatrick,
Lombard,
aye.
Keep us posted, Pete.
Yep, I will. If you have any questions, give me a shout, shoot me an email, whatever.
All right,
Good
thank you.
job.
Thanks,
Good
everybody.
Bye, you guys. Hasta la vista.
Thanks.
Bye.
See ya.
Get off the thing.
Where you going? Oh, Jimmy. Why are you going back to Zoom?
Only because you were supposed to hit leave, he said.
Did you have it right before Tony got here?
What?
Did you have it?
No, I did have to go to Zoom. And I didn't think I had to go to Zoom. I thought I could do it off of Skype. And he
How do
said,
you get to Zoom?
oh, you have
Zoom button?
you go to your internet, like Safari, except it's not Safari here. What is it? Yahoo search. You probably do it off that or OneDrive.
Zoom right there. Okay.
Or you can come over here, I think, and do it too. But I just open support chat.
Those guys are having problems with this service. Couple of them.
They were? See, it's not just you. I really think when you just went back to your emails, that probably ended it, but I just wanted to be sure. Randy Bailey. I wonder if that's a Bailey I know. Expansion joints fabricated. Would that be the guy that works for
Who?
Randy Bailey? We know Bailey's in Oklahoma. Probably not.
What do you? This is just the email.
Piping technology. But I'm saying the Baileys
Oh, yeah.
do a lot of fabricating and stuff. So I didn't know if he was working with, what's his name, to get some.
No, this is, I get that. These are vendors that, they send me stuff all the time. I don't know if they want me to represent them.
Okay, see right here? Zoom is on here now. Now, it wasn't before.
Where is it?
Tony did that, I think, for
Is
me.
that Zoom there?
Yeah, so you
Good.
just hit that, that'll bring you up to your screen.
Yeah. And then you punch in.
See here, it says leave. That's where you hit that, leave. Leave.
Okay.
And recording should be off now, right? Meeting information recording. Okay, so he set it up for us. We just got to figure out and then he said, you really